He took everything I had built over 7 years of my life and expected me to just disappear into the shadows like some broken, defeated nobody. But instead of crawling away to lick my wounds, I ended his entire fucking game. And I'm about to tell you exactly how I destroyed the man who thought he could steal my dreams and get away with it. Watch this. My name doesn't matter, but what Daniel Rodriguez did to me, that's a story that needs to be told. For 7 years, I poured my blood, sweat, and soul into building something revolutionary. A software platform that could transform how small businesses manage their finances. 7 years of 18-hour days, missed family dinners, sacrificed relationships, and countless nights where I chose code over sleep. Daniel was my business partner, my friend, the guy I trusted with my deepest ambitions and darkest fears about whether we'd ever make it. We started this company together in my garage, dreaming about changing the world and making enough money to finally breathe freely. He was supposed to be my brother in this fight, but Daniel had other plans. While I was buried in development, perfecting every algorithm and user interface, he was secretly building his own version of our software. He was copying my work, stealing my innovations, and preparing to launch his own company with everything I had created. And when the time was right, he didn't just steal my work, he stole my entire future and told everyone I had quit because I couldn't handle the pressure. The betrayal started small, so subtle I almost missed it. Daniel began missing our weekly strategy meetings, claiming he was networking and building partnerships. He started asking weird questions about my code architecture, wanting access to files he'd never cared about before. When I gave him that access, because, I trusted the bastard, he'd spend hours going through everything I'd built. Then came the lies. Daniel started telling our investors that I was having personal issues and couldn't be relied upon for major decisions. He convinced them that I was unstable, that my mental health was affecting my work quality. Meanwhile, he was presenting himself as the stable, reliable partner who could carry the company forward. The public humiliation was next. At our annual tech conference, where I was supposed to present our breakthrough software to potential clients, Daniel stood up during my presentation and announced that I was stepping down due to creative differences and personal challenges. He said this in front of 300 people, investors, competitors, journalists, everyone who mattered in our industry. He blocked my access to our company accounts, deleted my files from our shared servers, and started spreading rumors that I had stolen company property and was threatening to sell trade secrets to competitors. Every mutual friend we had started avoiding me. My professional network crumbled overnight. People I'd known for years suddenly looked at me like I was radioactive. Daniel was laughing behind my back, thinking he'd played the perfect game. He thought he'd successfully erased me from the picture while positioning himself as the brilliant innovator who'd saved the company from a toxic partner. He thought I was finished, broken, powerless to fight back against his carefully constructed web of lies. Everyone believed him. Investors, employees, even some of my own family members started questioning whether maybe Daniel's version of events was true. Maybe I really was unstable. Maybe I really had tried to sabotage the company. Maybe I deserved everything that was happening to me. But Daniel made one critical mistake. He underestimated just how methodical and patient I could be when someone pushed me past my breaking point. 3 weeks after Daniel destroyed my reputation and stole my life's work, I was sitting in my empty apartment, surrounded by legal bills I couldn't afford and job rejection letters that kept piling up. That's when I found it. the folder Daniel thought he'd deleted from our shared backup server. You see, Daniel wasn't as technically sophisticated as he pretended to be. When he wiped my access and deleted my files, he missed our old backup system that automatically archived everything to a secondary server. And in that archive, I found every email he'd sent to his secret business partner, every document where he outlined his plan to steal my software, every conversation where he strategized about how to remove me from the company. I had proof, undeniable, time-stamped, legally admissible proof that Daniel Rodriguez was a lying, stealing piece of shit who had orchestrated my downfall to cover up his own theft. Suddenly, I wasn't a victim anymore. I wasn't some pathetic founder who couldn't handle business pressure. I was a man with evidence, with purpose, and with a burning desire to watch Daniel's world collapse, just like he'd collapsed mine. I wasn't planning simple revenge. I was planning total annihilation. Stage 1 was silent preparation. I spent the next 2 months methodically organizing every piece of evidence I'd found. I documented Daniel's lies with timestamps. I traced the stolen code and showed exactly how he'd copied my innovations. I built an airtight case that would be impossible to dispute or dismiss. But I didn't just collect evidence. I studied Daniel's new company, his investor meetings, his marketing strategy, everything. I learned his schedule, his business partners, his weaknesses. I became a ghost in his professional life, watching and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Stage 2 was setting the trap. I started reaching out to some of our old investors, not to complain or seek sympathy, but to ask innocent questions about industry trends and new opportunities. I planted seeds of curiosity about Daniel's new company without ever directly attacking him. I let them start asking their own questions about the timeline of our split and the similarities between his new product and our original work. Meanwhile, Daniel was getting more confident and arrogant. His new company was gaining traction. He was getting media coverage, and he started giving interviews about his innovative breakthrough in financial software. He was literally taking credit for my 7 years of work in front of cameras and journalists, not knowing that every word he spoke was being documented and added to my evidence file. The beautiful irony was that Daniel's own ego was building the case against him. Every interview where he claimed to be the sole innovator, every presentation where he took credit for code I'd written, every lie he told to inflate his reputation, it was all being recorded and cross-referenced with my evidence of when and how he'd actually stolen everything. Stage 3 was the strike. I waited until Daniel's company secured a major investment deal. $2 million from a prestigious venture capital firm that valued ethical business practices and thorough due diligence. The signing ceremony was scheduled for a Thursday morning, with all the major investors, board members, and several technology journalists present. On Wednesday night, I sent a comprehensive package to every person who would be in that room. The package contained every email Daniel had sent about stealing my work, time-stamped evidence of when he'd accessed and copied my code, documentation of his lies about my departure, and a detailed analysis showing that his innovative software was actually my stolen intellectual property. But I didn't stop there. I also sent the evidence package to every journalist who had covered Daniel's success story, every investor who had praised his innovative thinking, and every business partner who had signed deals with his company based on his fraudulent claims. Thursday morning arrived, and Daniel walked into that signing ceremony expecting to celebrate his greatest triumph. Instead, he walked into his public execution. The lead investor stood up before Daniel, could even sit down, and announced that the deal was off, not just postponed, completely terminated. She then proceeded to read excerpts from my evidence package, including Daniel's own emails, where he bragged about eliminating the dead weight and finally getting credit for the real innovation. The room went completely tint. Daniel's face went through every color of confusion, panic, and pure terror as he realized his entire house of cards was collapsing in real time. He tried to stammer some explanation, some defense, but the evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Within 6 hours, Daniel's company lost not just that investment deal, but 3 other partnerships. His board of directors held an emergency meeting and voted to remove him as CEO. 2 major clients canceled their contracts after learning that their software platform was built on stolen intellectual property. By the end of the week, Daniel Rodriguez, the man who had destroyed my reputation and stolen my life's work, was unemployed, facing potential lawsuits, and completely blacklisted in our industry. Every lie he'd told about me had boomeranged back to destroy his own credibility. But the sweetest part? My original software platform, the one I'd built over 7 years, was suddenly available again. Daniel's company, desperate to salvage something from the wreckage, offered to return all my intellectual property and pay a substantial settlement to avoid a prolonged legal battle. And here's the twist that makes this revenge absolutely legendary. Remember that prestigious venture capital firm that was going to invest $2 million in Daniel's company? 3 weeks after they terminated his deal, they called me. They offered me not just the original $2 million Daniel was going to receive, but an additional $1 million in funding, plus full support to rebuild my company and launch the software platform the right way. They said they were impressed not just by my technical innovation, but by my patience, professionalism, and methodical approach to seeking justice. So Daniel didn't just lose his company, his reputation, and his career. He lost the exact opportunity he thought he was stealing from me, and then watched me receive an even better version of that same opportunity. The revenge wasn't just sweet. It was poetic justice, delivered with compound interest. Today, my company is valued at over $50 million. Daniel, last I heard, he was working customer service for a tech repair shop in another state, still trying to explain to potential employers why his previous startup failed so spectacularly. The lesson here isn't just about karma or justice. It's about the power of patience, evidence, and strategic thinking. Daniel thought he could destroy me with lies and theft, but he forgot that the truth has a way of surfacing when you're smart enough to document it properly. If you want more stories where calculated revenge hits harder than betrayal, where justice isn't just served, but delivered with precision and devastating effectiveness, make sure you follow this channel. Trust me, the next revenge story is even more brutal than this one, and the bastard who thought he could get away with destroying an innocent person's life learned exactly why you should never underestimate someone who has nothing left to lose. Hit subscribe if you love seeing toxic, manipulative people get exactly the destruction they deserve. More cold, calculated revenge stories are coming, and each one proves that karma isn't just real. It's absolutely merciless when you know how to weaponize the truth.